everyone, Kelly here, and today I'm going to talk about the things that I could possibly read in May. So I was thinking about what I wanted to read in May, and May's going to be kind of a crazy month. We are moving, so we are now in a rental house, and we just bought a house. We close on Thursday, and May is like next week, and our movers are not coming until the second week of May, so we'll be packing up. I'm gonna have them move like most of my books, so I can only keep out like a few books, and by a few, I mean, for me that's probably like 20 books. I can keep out some books. My cat's down here just in case you see me petting him. So I can keep out a few books, so I had to kind of think of like, what do I want to keep out to read in May and potentially in June as well, because who knows how long it'll take. My husband's building some bookshelves. Who knows how long that'll take so I can unpack my books. And so I was thinking through that, and what I kind of decided I wanted to do in terms of like what to keep out to have for the next couple months is I just really want to read like books that I think are going to be 5 stars or potential for 5 stars, 4 or 5 stars, books I'm really gonna love. And you think, well, shouldn't all your books be ones you love? But there's some books that I'm like, I want to read that, but I'm not for sure I'm gonna love it. I want to give it a chance. So I really wanted to pick books like by authors I know I like, or continuing series because I've liked the series so far. So that's a lot of what I put on there. And then I just have some other ones that I'm like, I would like to read that. I think I'm gonna really like it. So I do have quite a few books, but this will probably be more like my TBR for both May and June, because like I said, I don't know when I'll have access to other books. I do also have some more new releases kind of from the library, or a couple books from the library, but most of these are my books. I think I have like 4 from the library and 1 that I borrowed from a friend. So let's go in. I'm going to kind of talk about the categories of things. So the first category of possibilities are things that I have read several books from these authors, and I really like most of everything that I read from these authors. They're like 4 or 5 star authors for me. And I actually don't have a book by T. Kingfisher on this list, but I might pick up something by her as well. I have a couple books on my Kindle because she is generally a 4 or 5 star author for me. But I'm not picking that out, but probably I will read one of her books in the next couple months. I can't remember what all I have on my Kindle, but I think I have at least 3 of hers on my Kindle that I haven't read yet. But then in terms of ones that I have here, I have a couple library books I got out. I got out the new release, The Gathering by C.J. Tudor. Sorry, it's very shiny. And I think from what I heard, that this is kind of, might have some vampire-y things in it. I'm not sure. I actually did not read the synopsis. I just heard a couple people talk about it. I just have enjoyed all the things I've read by C.J. Tudor. I think I've read 3 things by this author and liked them all. I just find them entertaining, even if they're not like 5 stars. I think all of them have been 4 stars that I've read by her. I think I've read 4 things, 3 novels in her short story collection. They've all been 4 stars. I enjoy her, find her entertaining. So I picked up The Gathering. And then I have 13s by Kate Alice Marshall. I've read 3 other books by Kate Alice Marshall. I've read one of her young adult kind of supernatural thrillers, and then 2 of her adult thrillers, and this is one of her middle grade spooky books. Sorry, the library books are so shiny. And so I wanted to try her middle grade since I've tried her young adult and her adult, and I think everything I've read by her I've given either 4 or 5 stars, so hopefully I enjoy her middle grade as well. And this one's actually a series. I think there is a sequel to this, so I like it. Maybe I'll pick up the sequel as well, and I don't know what that's about either. This is like, I like Kate Alice Marshall, so I wanted to read her middle grade. And then a brand new book I just bought, I went to Barnes & Noble and picked up Counting Descent by Clint Smith, because I was trying to find where I could get this poetry collection. I had read Clint Smith's other poetry collection, Above Ground, I think that's what it's called, in January. Gave it 5 stars. I gave his nonfiction, How the Word is Passed, 5 stars. So yeah, so far everything I've read by Clint Smith I've loved. So I figured this would be nice to kind of just read throughout the month, read a poem here and there. I like to kind of take my time with his poetry, and hopefully this will be 5 stars as well. And then another author I read, everything that she has written. I have Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. This is her newer one. I think it was it from last year or 2 years ago? But I have read everything else by this author and have given them all, I think, 4 or 5 stars. And so I wanted to pick up her newer thing. Sorry, now he's kind of bumping against, can you stop bumping against that tripod, please? So hopefully I will like this as well. And she always writes kind of like small town books that have maybe like a little bit of magical realism or a little bit of mystery in them. But for the most part, they're more just kind of, I don't know, general women's fiction type books, but with a little bit of stuff in it. And so I'm excited to read that one. And the last one in this category is Peter Nimble and His Fantastic Eyes by Jonathan Auxier. And this is a middle grade fantasy. And I've read 2 other middle grade fantasy, and one of the other ones was kind of spooky too, The Night Gardener. So I don't know if this one has any spooky elements or if it's just fantasy, but I gave his other 2 books I read 5 stars. So I've been meaning to pick this up. I bought both books in this duology, so I own both of them. So if I like this one, maybe I'll just continue on to the second book as well. But yeah, I'm trying to also put a variety of things in here. So there's middle grade fantasy. And then the next category I have are just fantasy books that I have picked up more recently that I just really think that I would like them, and they're beginning of series, so it might be like new favorite series, hopefully. So I have a few of those. I have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, and everybody was loving this last year, and I know the second book, did it just come out or it's coming out this year? And so I wanted to pick this up, see if I also end up loving it. And then I have Threads That Bind, and this is the beginning of, I don't know if it's going to be just a duology, but the second book is coming out this year, and so this is another young adult fantasy. Is Emily Wilde young adult or is it adult? I'm actually not sure. It might be adult fantasy, but I'm pretty sure this is young adult. And this is also has like a Greek retelling type of thing going on. So I am interested in that. And then I've put this on so many TBRs, Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and I feel like I'm for sure gonna love this. And so I've put it on so many TBRs, and for some reason I haven't read it. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I need to pick up this book because I think I'm gonna love it and want to read the whole series. So that's on my TBR as well. And then the next category are books that are continuations in a series that I have been enjoying. Most of these I have read the book right before this recently, so I just want to keep the momentum going. Most of these are ones I own, except for this book I borrowed from somebody else. I borrowed Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross because the wait at the library was so long, and I saw she had it and she let me borrow it. I'm trying to be very gentle with this because this, obviously it's her new book, and it was like I think it's a Barnes & Noble exclusive with the like etching and stuff, so I'm trying to be very careful with her borrowed book. But yeah, that's one I want to continue. This is young adult fantasy romance, and I really enjoyed Divine Rivals, so I think that I'll be able to read that one pretty quickly. And then most of these are fantasy series. I have Magic Study by Maria V. Snyder. I read Poison Study, I think last month. Was it March? I think it was March. And so I want to continue that series. And then I have The Realms of the Gods by Tamora Pierce, and this is book 4 in the Immortals Quartet, and I would really like to finally finish out this series. I feel like I've been reading this series forever. I think it's only been 3 years that I have like stretched out the series, but it's time to finish it off so I can move on to one of her other series. And this one is all revolving around a character named Dane who can communicate with animals, so she has wild magic, and so I would like to finish this out and finally find out how her arc finishes. And then another final in a series is Night of Flame by Jordan Rivet. This is the 5th book in the Steel and Fire series, which I had read the first 3 several years ago, reread all of them last year, and then read the 4th book, I think at the end of last year as well. And so just have the 5th book to finish this off. This is a young adult fantasy that involves a lot of like sword fighting and stuff like that, and a lot of political machinations. And so I'm excited to finish out that series. And then another one that I've read recently that I wanted to continue is This is the Farthest Shore, which is book 3 in the Earthsea, is it called the Earthsea Chronicles? I don't know. The Earthsea series by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I read book 2 in January, I believe, and just want to keep up the momentum on these series and continue. All of these have like a character that's shared, but they're not necessarily direct sequels, so I'm excited to like jump into another story from Earthsea. And then I have Fire by Kristen Kishore, and this is book 2 in Graceling series. And I actually have not finished my reread of Graceling, but I'm working on it right now. So I think by the end of this month, I will have finished my reread of Graceling and can continue reading the series. I ended up buying all of the books in these new covers, so I really want to read them all since I have them all. So I had read Graceling like years ago when it first came out, and I reread it because I didn't remember, and now I'm ready to move on, or will be ready by next week, I think, to move on. And then when I have not read this series in a while, and this is a mystery series instead of a fantasy series. This is Home by Nightfall by Charles Finch, and this is a long-running series of like mysteries that take place in like the late 1800s. Yeah, it's 1876, and I've really enjoyed them, but I'm just bad at long-running series. Like, I just get bored after a while, and so I took a long break. I had read, I think this is book 8, and I think I read the first 6 back before my channel even started. So 6 years ago, I had like read the first 6, and then, or maybe the first 5, and then had read the next 2 over the last 6 years since I had started my channel, and now I'm ready to finish out the series. So I have the last like 3 books and would like to keep going in that. So those are all like continuing series. And then I just have a collection of a few books that 2 I pulled off of my shelves and just thought I would like to get to these finally. And then 2 I got from the library. So from the library, I've had this on hold since it got announced as the Newbery winner for this year. The Eyes and the Impossible by Dave Eggers. I don't know much about what this is about other than it's about a dog. And I think it's from the viewpoint of the dog as well. But, ooh, it has pretty full pictures. It's so funny. I've been on the hold list for this since it was announced. I think they announced in January? So it's been 2 months or 3 months that I've been waiting for this book because, everybody, as soon as the Newbery Award winner is announced, everybody wants to like read that book. So yeah, I've been waiting for 3 months for this book. And then last week, my daughter comes home with this book from her school library. And I'm like, well, if I had known that you could just get it from your school library, I would have had you just get it months ago and we could have read it together. So we might still read it together because she had read the first 3 chapters when she got it from the library last week or whatever. And I'm like, well, maybe we should read it together. Now that I have a copy as well, we can read it and have a good time reading the Newbery Award winner. And then one that I have, I think this is a new release. I think it just came out at the beginning of this year. I have The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels by Janice Hallett. I have not read anything by this author, but I've heard good things about her, that she uses like mixed media. Yeah, it's like text messages and emails and all kinds of things. And that I've just heard good things about these mysteries. And I wanted to give one of hers a try. And they had it in the like new release section at my library. So I picked it up, and that's one I would like to maybe get to. And the one that has been, I think this is actually the book that has been on my TBR the longest. Like if you were to go to at least my Goodreads. I mean, obviously I have had things before I started using Goodreads like 6 years ago, but this was like, if I were to rearrange my TBR to the oldest thing on my Goodreads TBR, that would be this book, I think. A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Bernard. And this is a young adult romance. And I just think it's been on my TBR for that long. I should finally read it. Let me just check. Yeah, this is from 2018. So I think I got it pretty soon after it came out, and it has been on my TBR since then. And then the last one is just a classic that I have put on my TBR several times in the last year, and I just need to pick it up. And that's Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. And I think I'm going to really enjoy this one. So I put it on my TBR again. So all of these books are books I think that I will give 4 or 5 stars to. And I just, basically what I'm going to do in May is if I start reading a book and I'm just not feeling it, if I'm like, oh, it's okay, it's going to be a 3-star, or I'm not liking it, I'm going to put it down. I only want to, when I review books at the end of May, I only want to be talking about books that I loved, 4 or 5-star books. So if I pick up any of these and they're just not doing it for me, then I will put them down. Because I just want to enjoy it, because it's going to be a stressful month with moving. It's also my birthday month, so there's going to be like activities and stuff. So I probably was very ambitious, but like I said, this will probably be May and June of all the books that I'll be reading over the next couple months, since I won't have access to any of my other books probably till mid-summer, because he's actually like making shelves and like, cutting the wood and sanding it and staining it and, attaching them to the wall and all that. So it's going to take him a while to do that project. So yeah, these are the books I'm going to read in the next couple months. If you've read any of these, let me know. If you want to buddy read any, let me know as well. Since a lot of them are continuation of series, maybe not everybody's at that book and want to buddy read, but there are some that are beginning series or by themselves. So let me know. And I hope you are enjoying your end of April, and I will see you next time. Bye.